1 year on the run, but it seems the hand of justice and the wheels of justice often wheel towards justice. You're watching TV 47 News tonight. We have a lot of stories lined up for you. Equally, a reminder of our interview tonight. We are making sense of Sonko's launch of his political party, the National Economic Development Party. His Secretary General and the Secretary General of that party, Ben Mulwa, is with me in studio. We'll be questioning of the timings of the launch of that party, their agenda ahead of the 2027 polls, and the future in as far as their political stand is concerned. Let's get to more news. And President William Ruto has boldly declared that Kenya is on the path of becoming a first world nation, outlining an ambitious plan to reshape the country through the approval of the National Infrastructure Fund. The president's vision includes mobilizing up to 5 trillion shillings for large-scale projects in infrastructure and industrialization. But as lofty as the goals may sound, critics are questioning whether Kenya, a nation with significant social and economic challenges, is truly ready for such a massive leap.
As the National Infrastructure Fund gets a green light following the approval by Cabinet Monday afternoon, the President's vision for a transformed Kenya faces tough scrutiny. While the goal is clear, the path forward remains uncertain, as critics highlight the widening gap between Kenya's aspirations and its current challenges. At the heart of this ambitious transformation plan is the National Infrastructure Fund, which seeks to generate up to 5 trillion shillings to finance critical infrastructure and industrial projects. During the meeting at State House on Monday, the Cabinet approved the formal establishment of the National Infrastructure Fund and a new sovereign wealth fund, clearing the way for a 5 trillion shillings investment drive anchored on domestic resources, public asset monetization and private capital mobilization. The government says every shilling invested through the fund is expected to attract up to 10 shillings more from pension funds, development financiers and private investors, while reducing reliance on borrowing and higher taxes. The Cabinet also resolved that all privatization proceeds will be ring-fenced strictly for infrastructure projects, while approving a sovereign wealth fund to manage revenues from minerals, petroleums, and public investments for long-term national benefit. However, with a population of 4.4 million people in Nairobi alone, and a state like Singapore managing with 6.1 million, questions arise on the feasibility of such a transformation.
We are coming to launch a trillion fund in Kenya today, or we are planning to do that. Can the government first face Kenyans and explain one sequentially from number one? Where has the 4 trillion Kenya shillings the government has borrowed gone to?
Speaking on Sunday in Kiambu, President William Ruto made a strong declaration. Kenya's transformation from a third world to a first world country will begin Monday with the approval of the National Infrastructure Fund, a fund aimed at financing large-scale projects crucial for economic growth and quality of life improvement.
Hii mpango yote mimi nawasihi na waomba. Wakati niliwaeleza tutajenga manyumba, tutajenga masoko, tutajenga hostels, wengine hawakuamini.
As President Ruto calls for discipline and investment in key sectors, Kenya's rapidly growing population faces a lack of essential services, high unemployment and deepening poverty. So, is Kenya truly prepared for a transformation on par with Singapore's success?
We must cease to become politicians all the time as leaders and become leaders instead. Because, you know, the issue of promising all the time. I'm MP for Kiharu. If I call a baraza in Kiharu and only say what I want to do, what does that mean about what I have done?
While the president pushes for grand infrastructure plans, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro warns that political promises should not overshadow Kenya's pressing social and economic issues, with cuts in education funding and underscored challenges in critical sectors. Nyoro argues that the government must be held accountable for its actions, not just its promises.
The close to 4 trillion you have borrowed, besides having been made it possible for basic education to be free and tertiary education to be free, every constituency would have been seeing 12 billion worth of development projects not being launched, but finished and completed.
Whether Kenya can truly emulate the rapid progress of nations like Singapore will depend on not just the scale of investment, but on the ability to address foundational issues like education, health, and poverty reduction. For now, the president's ambitious plan faces the challenge of turning promises into reality. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.